Your content is always a mix of your journey and what you're learning and what you have learned and want to teach people. You just have to take me deeper inside. Just saying that you're overwhelmed and stressed doesn't connect because it's too general. Creativity is messy, but you'll get some random things in there that might change your life. And there he is.
Hey, Evan.
So what do you got? How can I help?
Okay, so I'm in Movement Makers, and I love the book. Of course, we should probably show it here for everybody watching.
Oh, he's got it. He's got it.
Amazing, amazing book. Worth reading multiple times. I'm still on my first round. But question is, so I'm curious about people getting into the knowledge business. I know there's different memberships, and Dean's got the KBB course with Tony, and your book's amazing.
Yeah.
Are there any issues with giving credit to the source? Like, I know a lot of your content is based on repurposing content from other channels. Mm-hmm. And you've introduced me to a lot of people that I would have never heard of. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, do people have issues with us leveraging their information?
Depends how you're using it. If you're gonna be selling something and it's somebody else's packaging, that's probably gonna be a problem, right? If you get Dean's KBB and then sell it as your own,
yeah.
I mean, he's not gonna be happy with that, probably. And Dean's a great guy, but if you're just marketing and selling other people's content, that's gonna be a problem. So it's, what's your take? What's your added value that you're going to bring to it? If you're doing public content, some people care. Some people are very protectionist and they don't like it. And some people see it as marketing. So even yesterday on Instagram, I posted a quote from Dean, and it was a picture that we took when we were in Puerto Rico together. And I posted one of his quotes, and like Dean loves it. Right. Most of the guys that I profile and feature, they love the exposure because I'm giving them new eyeballs that maybe you never heard of Dean before you saw the video that I did. So we started off, who was the first one we made a deal with? Tony Robbins was the first one. And then from there, so we did a mashup of him, and then he shared it on his YouTube. I think it's still there. If you go to his YouTube page, you can see the video there. And then from there, we just, within the thought leadership space, people probably know me. Like if you're in the entrepreneur, thought leader space, you probably know me or know my content. So we've built this, brand new reputation. If it's something else, makeup or beauty or whatever, it's like,
right.
Who's Evan Carmichael? If you're doing it to resell something, then no. I mean, if you love Dean's KBB, just be an affiliate for it, right? As opposed to trying to sell it on your own.
Well, I'm even in the sense of selling a membership or selling any kind of knowledge product, such as if we're built to serve and we're teaching people go through what we went through 5 years ago in your example, mm-hmm. You're showing them the strategies that you learned over the years, right? Like I read this book or I found this strategy from that person. There's no issues with intellectual property there, right? Like if you're...
Well, so give us example. Like what is it that you're trying to sell?
The most impactful thing in my kind of working on the credo and doing mm-hmm. your exercises mm-hmm. was about 4 years ago. I was graduating high school, living on my own as a musician, and there was just too many ideas, too many books to read. It was a sense of overwhelm, which in your list of emotions was like failure, I guess. It was failure to engage with all this stuff. And the David Allen work, which you did a top 10 of the GTD guy, David Allen.
Yeah.
That was super powerful because he gives you the workflow of how to capture everything and process everything. And I mean, that was probably the lowest pain I've had, just being completely frozen and not knowing where to go, mm-hmm. to then having a strategy of, okay, I'm a little more in control of my life. If I were to sell, whether it's a course or a membership or something helping other kids or other young people going through that, do I need to form a relationship with someone like David, or can you just credit the person and teach what parts of their methodology helped you?
Yeah. So what do you want to sell? You want to sell a book? You want to sell a membership program, a download? What do you want to sell?
I think membership program is a really good place to go.
So then it's you what they're buying is access to you. You're going to guide them through it, and it's your take on things. So you can say that getting things done was super helpful and instrumental. You probably don't use it exactly 100% like David laid it out, and you've added your own tweaks and twists and turns to it. And so you can credit in the sense that here's my story, here's what I learned. David Allen saved my life, got me out of a big hole, and now I've become a lot more productive. And your membership program is about helping other young entrepreneurs or musicians or whoever you're targeting become more productive. And every 2 weeks or every month or every week or how often you're going to do it, you get access to me, and I'm going to help you become more productive. If you use an official, like, getting things done in the title, or getting things done by David Allen Mastermind or something, that's going to be a problem because there's you know, branding issues. But if you're just leveraging some of the ideas that he's gone through, but then you're adding your take on it, and what they're paying for isn't just like a copy paste of his book or something, they're paying for access to you, that's okay.
Awesome. That's good. Yeah, I mean, that was my biggest objection over the past year, seeing people kind of give all these tools of how do you start your mastermind or how do you start your service section. I think that's a question, though, I really want to ask you, is about the sequence of your career. Mm-hmm. For guys like you and a lot of the thought leaders that you hang around, you guys had a previous career before YouTube and before these podcasts and these books. You know, like you had your exit, and I'm just now learning about a lot of your story.
Yeah.
That's probably a better way to go. At least it seems like I shouldn't be the one making content right now as a 21-year-old. I should go into business and have success in some way. But then again, your point on YouTube getting more and more saturated, and if there's anything I can offer to people going through what I went through, even if it was a small pain, what do you think about that? Like,
I would recognize that you're still at the early stages of your journey of what you're trying to go off and accomplish, right? Is music the thing that you want to be known for?
No, that was actually a really big identity crisis, which was another moment last year when you were on your tour, I think, last March, April, May.
Okay.
And I was dropping out of college, dropping out of music school.
We were supposed to come to Atlanta on this year's tour. Yeah, it was on the list. It got canceled, but we're making it happen now. So you're not going to be a musician. You're going to be what instead?
That's where the past year has been. It's been kind of a gap year, trying year. I was making money running Facebook ads for people, it's not a passion. It was just a way to, scramble for money and help.
Yeah.
But it's been a little shocking the past year for a kid who grew up literally from age 5 to 20, being a pretty talented guitar player, getting scholarships, corporate gigs, charity gigs, all this stuff, to deciding, hey, this is not where I want to go. It seems like a dead end. The passion was gone. So everything you tell people about, you can follow your skill, but you're competing against passionate people, And I was competing against really passionate musicians who are, just working 24/7 and playing gigs. Plus you put an introvert on top of that. And I did not want to go out and play and talk to people. So I dropped everything, sold all the guitars. And
wow. Okay.
The past year has been, besides my little service business, running Facebook ads, just reading and learning. To a point where I actually like what you did with the 30-day YouTube strategy now with your new content.
Oh, dude, it's going to be insane. Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
I'm so excited. It's so much work. It's crazy, but I'm pumped.
Really?
Yeah, dude. It's like the challenge to my team and myself is if I only were to make 30 videos and then I'm going to close down my channel, these are the 30 videos to watch to change your life.
It's like the Brian Tracy exercise of like, if you only had X years to live, what would you want to do? So if you only had these 30 days.
30 videos, 30 days, change your life. So, we're not going to stop the channel after 30 days, but that's the challenge. So it's a lot of work. We might launch, I don't know when we're going to launch quite yet. Either May 1st, which is a tight deadline, or May 20th, which is my birthday. So we'll see. We'll keep you posted. But here's what I would do. Like, as you're going on your journey, you've you're still at the early stages, and you don't know a ton to be a big expert yet.
Right.
But you do know more than you did before. You know more than you did when you were 16, right? You know more than that guy who was at his lowest low, who didn't have any productivity, who was chasing a career that he didn't love, and realized, like, you've already gone through a lot of things that other people are struggling with right now. So I think making content is a great strategy. I think the content I would make is a mix of your journey, and this is it's an ongoing thing. Your content is always a mix of your journey and what you're learning and what you have learned and want to teach people. The only difference for you is it might only be 10% what you've learned and can help people, and 90% your journey.
Interesting.
And as you get more experience and try new things, like if you spent the next year just dedicated to learning and sharing your experiences, you're going to come out a different human a year. Even look at the past year, how much you've probably grown and learned, and compared to people who are your age. So with every year that passes, you bump up that percentage. Maybe now it's 20% I'm the expert and 80% learning, and then 30% I'm the expert and 70% I'm learning, right? It just heavily skews now towards the journey and the learner. So you're saying, hey, I've already, if somebody came to you and said, hey, how should I schedule my day? How do I plan my time? You could probably give them some good advice. If somebody said, hey, how do I plan a Facebook ad campaign? You could probably give them some good advice because you learned some stuff. A bunch of other questions you may not have the answer to yet because you haven't done it, but you sharing what you've learned from the books that you're reading, you sharing your take on a video that you've watched and what you're learning from Warren Buffett or whoever, right? Taking people on your journey so that I can get inspired by watching you to say, if he's doing it, maybe I can do it too. Like, just the fact that you're willing to try becomes motivation to somebody else to go off and try. The danger is when people are trying to be an expert at something they're not an expert at. And there's a lot of imposter syndrome is the term. And you should feel like imposter syndrome because you are fake, because you don't know what you're talking about, right? So don't pretend to be somebody you're not. Say, I know how to do these things, and I'm going to slowly increase the scope of what I know how to do and talk about. So just like on my Instagram lives and stuff, most of the time I have an answer because I've been through it. But you're also asking me questions that I know how to answer, right? If you ask me, like, how do I make a pillow or something, like, I don't know. Right? I have no idea. Just people ask me questions that are inside my lane, and then with every week and every month and every year, my lane slowly expands to what I'm capable of covering and talking about. So that's what I would do. I would start making content, documenting your journey, and as you learn and grow more, you're going to be able to help more people.
Nice. So you're saying kind of like the way Gary Vaynerchuk says to document, don't create. But essentially here, we're just changing the percentage from 10% create, 90% vlog, document the journey. Is that kind of where it's going? And then the percentage changes over time?
Yeah, as you gain more experience and skills, the percentage changes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would even look, I mean, on top of document create, I would add interview. So part of your learning would be, hey, I'm gonna bring on Evan because I want to learn how to, like, this could be your first interview. Use it, right? And when you're trying to do an interview, listen, you have an advantage in that you're young and people like to help young people out, right? If you were 45 doing this, it might be a little bit harder, right? But you say, hey, I'm young. I'm a young entrepreneur. I'm going on this journey to discover myself. I'd love to have you come on and answer a couple questions to help me. And you turn it into a coaching session that you want value from, not what you hope your audience is going to care about. A lot of people my age go through that. No, don't start like, I'm struggling with this. How do I get through it? So you make it a free coaching session for you. Like, you might get David Allen on, who otherwise may not talk to you, but because now you're making this show, he'll come on and answer your questions, and you can share your story about how he helped change your life. And what I'm struggling with is these three things about your book that I didn't quite understand. And then you get free coaching. So I don't know if you want to call that document or create, but it's your learning process to try to bring on mentors who can guide you, if only for, a quick 24-minute call.
Okay. And regardless, you think that's a better strategy than staying private offline for 5 or 10 years, having some kind of win or some kind of victory before starting the content?
Yeah, because I think the victory is in showing the journey of you getting the victories. Like if I was starting off from scratch right now, it's what I would be doing. Even if you look at my early days of my content, and you can go back on the channel, it's also there. I didn't talk about myself at all. Even though I had sold my business and I had an exit and made some money, I was still too shy, too low self-confidence to feel like, well, I always thought, why care about my story? I'm talking about Walt Disney and
Right.
Oprah Winfrey. Like, who cares that I sold my first business, right? These are huge people. So I didn't really tell much of my story at the beginning at all. If you go back on the Top 10 Rules series, there were years of top 10s before I ever did one on me. And that took a while of just gaining confidence and more belief in myself for that. So I think that the problem is if you're coming out and saying something and pretending to be an expert on something that you're not, and you don't have domain expertise in, that's where it gets problematic. That's where then you should be just saying, I know this, I'm 10% at this, and that's where I'm going to focus my advice giving. And everything else is, here's what I'm learning. And you can't combat. Like if you read Think and Grow Rich for the first time, and you do a video, or Built to Serve for the first time, and you do some kind of content on it, it's your opinion on it. So here's what I learned from Evan's book, and here's how I'm trying to apply it to my life. And here's what I loved, and here's what sucks, and this is my journey. You can't refute that because it's your journey and your opinion on it. As opposed to somebody coming to you and saying, hey, what should I do with my life? And you telling them, you need to go do this, but you're not sure, you haven't been through it. That's when you can start to get called out, and that's when people will start to criticize you. They'll go, well, have you done it? Have you gone through it?
Right. That's the question. Do you think there's room online for people doing, I know you said book thinkers, you had the guys last week, for people to just talk and review content, review books and information?
If you tell your story with it. I think
people are following the personalities.
Yeah, it's like you want people to connect with you. You want people to also feel like they're somebody who's around your age, who also feels like they're an introvert, who also feels like they had massive talent at something, but they're not passionate about it, and they're not courageous enough to drop it, to go for something else when you don't know what that something else is, right? You're like, I stopped playing guitar without having anything else to go to. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure it out. And so we kind of did some Facebook, but I don't have my life mapped out. I just know that guitar is not for me. That's a bold decision that a lot of people are way too afraid to make.
So do you think maybe that's the story to go with, rather than having been a kid who was maybe overwhelmed or stressed, because it's more of a specific story to
all of
quit
it, like
something,
overwhelmed
everything.
and stressed. You just have to take me deeper inside. Just saying that you're overwhelmed and stressed doesn't connect because it's too general.
Yeah.
Take me inside, like what caused the overwhelm? What caused the stress, right? Like I grew up with whatever. Right? My mom beat me.
Sure.
Like whatever, right? If or your uncle kept telling you that you suck, like the specific stories inside it are the things that will then connect people to you. So, like family abuse. I don't have any history of family abuse. My parents were awesome. I have a picture of them in my wall in my office. So I can't share and connect on that. I can have empathy and I can listen, but I can't really tell you what to do from my own experience. Now, if you've learned and you've read and you said, hey, you know what? Tony Robbins went through that and here's how he solved it. You're sharing his experience as opposed to saying what you would do because you haven't been through it, right? On my tour last year, I broke my neck, right?
Yeah.
In 2 spots and concussion and all that. And I continued on my tour. And it was like such a highlight, right? That I kept going even though I broke my neck. But up until that point, whenever somebody called in to an Instagram live like this or the radio show I had or any of that stuff, and they would ask me about physical pain, like I suffer from this. I never had a really good answer because I've never really been through massive physical pain. But now I have. I broke my neck in 2 spots. What do you got, right? And so like now I have a story that can relate to them. And so when people are upset or feel like they can't do something because of some condition, now I'm in a better position to actually help because I've been through it myself, right? So now I can expand my percent from 15 to 20 to whatever.
Exactly. So it just sounds like there's a shift now of people sharing their own story and kind of expanding publicly instead of doing all your work, training for 10 years and then here you are, the expert is
Yeah.
ready to go.
But that still is like the training for 10 years, just show the journey of you training for 10 years.
Yep.
Tell me how you're doing it, as opposed to just being like, if you look at somebody who's working out, if you train every day for 10 years, you're going to become a lot more lean and muscular and right. So you can, when you're at the 10-year mark and you've won the bodybuilding competition or whatever, I want to learn from you as the expert, right? To say, wow, look at how did you do, what are you eating and what exercises are you going through when you go to the gym? But what's missing is that whole 10 years of you documenting that journey of you going on the ups and the downs, like where you're crushing it and when you're struggling. Maybe you cheat on your diet. Maybe you whatever it is, that the ups and downs, that becomes motivation for people to watch, to say, if he can do it, I can do it too, as opposed to just burying your head in the sand for 10 years and then popping up to say, hey, I'm here.
Right. Nice. And I mean, this is kind of a random side question, but people are talking about TikTok a lot recently.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen security threats, privacy risk, like any reason not to go there?
I'm very not concerned about privacy or security, so I'm probably the wrong guy to talk to. Yesterday on my Instagram Live, I had a guy who's a security expert, so he's all in on cybersecurity. So you can email him and ask if you want. He left his email on the chat. But for me, I care almost zero. So if you're on TikTok, is the Chinese government tracking me in my maybe? I don't know. I'm not spending my time thinking about that.
Sure.
It could be
the wrong on there,
thing.
By the way?
What's that?
I don't know. Are you on TikTok, by the way? Or
yeah, I'm on
I know
TikTok.
you're YouTube first. You are. Nice.
YouTube first, Instagram second, and then everything else. Probably Twitter third, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok. I'm not super aggressive on TikTok yet. You got any last question?
Just targeting. I know. So your book had this exercise, amazing exercise, where you talked about identifying the feeling of the demographic, like what's the pain.
Yeah.
And then what's the second one? The demographic, like their age, and for you it was entrepreneurs with no money, they're young.
Yep.
The interest for you as entrepreneurs. Are those the exact, like, do you want to go that specific, or in my story, would I just go to anybody young, 15 to 25? Is that too wide to just go based on age?
Age plus what? So I think if you're on your journey to find yourself, your journey to figure out your passion for the rest of your life, that's something a lot of people can relate to, especially young people. But you might have somebody who's 65 years old who's retiring and now have no idea what they want to do. They might like your message. It's just not, you're not going to connect to them as much. You don't know how to help them as much as somebody who's 17 because you've been there.
Right.
And there's a lot of people who are in that 15 to 24 range that don't know what they want to do next. And they may not connect with Evan Carmichael or Gary Vee or Grant Cardone or whoever is out there creating content. But they'll connect with you because they know your story. And so I think age is a good one for you. It may not be the one for everybody, but I think it's a good one for you. But plus the journey and struggle to find yourself, and you've already gone through it of not knowing that you don't want to do guitar, and being willing to drop that to then go off on this journey to find yourself. Like this, the next year is just like I'm going this 30-day challenge for the YouTube. Like it's your 365-day challenge to find yourself. And in those things that you do, maybe 30 out of the 365 days are actually like insane, mind-blowing days. And a lot of stuff you try just sucks and goes nowhere. But the fact that, again, that you're willing to try is going to be inspiration to people. And then if you've done, like if you took the next year and said, for the next 365 days, I'm going to learn something new every day, whether it's a skill, whether it's a video, whether it's opening my mind to something I've never seen before, whether it's going into a bookstore and reading a magazine about horses, right? Like maybe you care zero about horses, but you're just going to challenge yourself to learn about something that you've never learned before. A lot of those might be failed experiments because creativity is messy, but you'll get some random things in there that might change your life. Like for me, salsa dancing changed my life, even though on paper it made no sense. I don't speak Spanish. I'm too tall, so I take big steps. I never learned dancing growing up. Super awkward. All of these things against me, and yet I love salsa dancing. I met my wife through it. I own the largest dance studio, in Canada, maybe North America. And so in taking that challenge of the next 365, learning one new thing a day, some of them might be big things, and some of them might be as simple as I'm going to learn about horses today. You're gonna, in sharing that journey, inspire people to go and learn something for themselves. And then after you come out of that year, you'll have figured out 30 different things that work.
I like that.
At the very beginning, we had Chris Gilbo in the house. I don't know if he's still watching, but Chris is the youngest guy to visit every country in the world. There's 193 countries, I think, in the world. And so his name is 193 countries or something on Instagram. And at the beginning, it was just his creative journey. It's like, I want to go and see all these countries because I want to see the world. And then it became a challenge of I'm going to go to every country in the world. I'm going to be the youngest person to do it, right? It expanded. And then after he did it, I forget how old he was, 23 or something when he did it. He then started getting a lot of questions. Well, how do you do it? I want to go travel the world, but I don't have $1 million, right? He's like, well, I didn't have $1 million either. I just made money on the side everywhere I went. And then that became what he taught people. He's known for being the side hustle guy. He's teaching people how to find a side hustle, how to make money off of $100, all of these things. So that supported him in building his journey that now he teaches because he went and did the 193 countries. So as you go off on a 365 journey of learning new skills, you're going to learn a couple things along the way that then you can then teach people, whether that becomes book writing courses, videos, consulting, speaking gigs. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you.
Cool, man. All right.
That's
Good
awesome.
luck. Much love.
Everybody, I know this is probably your audience on here, but if anybody hasn't read this, we have to promote this.
Built to serve.
I look forward to your content, your 30-day challenge. That's awesome.
Coming soon.
Thank you,
Appreciate you, man. Thank you for the love. Take care.
Yeah, man. Bye.
If you have a podcast or interview show and want me to be a guest on it, I have two options for you. There's a link right there next to me. Go click it, and I look forward to being a guest on your show.